Austin Powers, he's the man for you. Hello, it's FamCam, and it's time for another one-liners video. For this one, I decided to do some one-liners from the Austin Powers trilogy. Now, why is that? Because Austin Powers was a big part of what inspired me to get into doing voices. Because Mike Myers played not one, not two, not three, but 4 different characters in the series. He was, of course, Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, Fat Bastard, and Goldmember. Had to think of the name for some reason, even though that's the title of the 3rd film. But I won't be doing lines of Fat Bastard or Goldmember, but I will be doing lines of Austin Powers and Dr. Evil, because, they are the main characters of the series, obviously. And they're the ones that I know the most, and they're the ones that I could do their voices the best, compared to the other 2. So, I'm going to start with one of my favorite lines in this series. This is obviously a derivative of what happened in Goldfinger, James Bond, where he's like, "Do you expect me to talk?" And Goldfinger's like, "No, Mr. Bond, you expect you to die." In Austin Powers, it was, "Dr. Evil, do you really expect him to pay?" "No, Mr. Powers, I expect them to die. Even after they pay me the money, I'm still going to melt every city on the planet with liquid hot magma." Because his whole plan, not to give spoilers or anything, but it doesn't really give away any plot of the film, but it gives away his evil plot, where he was going to blackmail the government into giving him $100 billion. Otherwise, he would use a nuclear weapon, a warhead installed in a giant drill into the earth to the core and detonate at the Earth's core, which means every volcano on Earth will erupt. Can you imagine if every single volcano on Earth erupted at once? Yeah, that would be bad. That would be really bad. So that was Dr. Evil's plan. And Austin Powers, of course, stopped it. I won't say how, but it's not really hard to figure out that he stopped that. But yeah. Let's see, what else? In Austin Powers 2, he was explaining his evil plot to his minions, and his son was there just taunting him because he was trying to give code names for his operation. He would have a giant laser on the moon, and he would call the moon the Death Star. And Scott was like, "Rip off." And he's like, "Bless you." And he codenamed his operation the Alan Parsons Project. The Alan Parsons Project, like the band. Don't answer me. Don't break your silence. Don't let me in. Alan Parsons Project. I can't remember why he called it Alan Parsons Project, but that's just Dr. Evil for you. One from Goldmember, the 3rd film. He had like a little demonstration, and somebody dropped, I think it was like supposed to be the moon, or no, it was the globe. Yeah. Oh yeah, they dropped the globe They drop a model globe and land on his head, and like his head was smashed in. So he's like, "Congratulations, you turned me into a freaking Jack in the Box." And then I think it was Mini Me who like dropped the moon or satellite. I don't know. It's been a while, but it was like on a string, so it like came down a curve like that, and it slammed him in his junk. It's like, now I have to try to find my balls, for God's sakes. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. There was another moment in the first film where he went to therapy with his son. And his son is like, "I really think he hates me. I really think he's trying to kill me." And the therapist, who was played by Carrie Fisher, by the way, she's like, "No, Scott, we don't want to kill each other. We may say we do, but we really don't." As, rational therapists would say. And Dr. E was like, "Actually, the boy's quite astute. I really am trying to kill him, but so far he's been like his old man," or something like that. Why don't I say some Austin Powers lines? I've been focusing so much on Dr. Evil because he is one of my favorite characters to imitate. But Austin Powers, when he and Vanessa first arrive in Las Vegas, after they unpack in the hotel, they go downstairs and they're trying to blend in, and Austin is obviously doing a terrible job keeping a low file because it's Austin Powers. But he's like, "Hey, there you are. Well, hi, do I know you? No, you're right there." And then they freaking sit down at a blackjack table, and the dealer's played by Larry Thomas. The soup Yahtzee. I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube right now. But, he's like, "No soup for you." That guy. Remember him? And so he meets number 2, Dr. Evil's number 2 man, named number 2, who has an eye patch like Largo in Thunderball. But this eye patch gives him the ability to use X-ray vision, and he uses that playing blackjack. He has 17. He looks through the lens, sees the next card is a 4. So he's like, "Hit me." Everyone's dumbfounded, of course. Why would he hit at 17? He said, "I like to live dangerously." I can't do Robert Wagner's voice. I'm sorry, but... So, of course, he gets 21, and then Austin Powers' turn. He has 5. He's like, "Oh, stay." He looks him square in the eyes like, "I also like to live dangerously." Of course he lost. But I won't lie to you. Cards aren't really my bag, baby. Allow myself to introduce myself. My name is Richie Cunningham, and this is my wife, Oprah. He does not know how to blend it at all. But yeah, then number 2 introduces himself and his Italian secretary, who I will not name in this video. I will absolutely get demonetized if I do. Her name is a lot of... Never mind. Yeah. Let's see, what else? I'm kind of like Eddie Izzard when I do these videos because I don't script them, and he doesn't really script his acts due to dyslexia. I read a long time ago. That's why a lot of times he's like upstage going, thinking of what to say next, what joke to tell next, something like that. So that's the same reason I'm doing right now too. I'm not dyslexic, but I am autistic and ADHD, and you're getting the full, raw, real me with a few cuts here and there if I screw up. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Oh yeah. When Dr. Evil shows up in the past in The Spy Who Shagged Me, the second film, He travels from 1999, the year that film came out, to 1969, 30 years before, just like 30 years apart in the first film, of course. This time it's a lot more Austin Powers appropriate because it's 1969. Get it? Nice. Anyway, so he shows up and he sees number two being played by Rob Lowe playing a younger number two, and he's like, "Number two, you look so young and handsome or dashing." I can't remember the exact word he used. And then he looks to Frau, and she looks exactly the same. "You look so right." Of course, he and Frau get together. But she looks the damn same 30 years before. Apparently she doesn't age. Or maybe she just didn't. Maybe she froze herself too. Maybe they just don't. Maybe that's part of Austin Powers lore and they don't disclose that. But maybe she just never aged because she also froze herself. I guess so. But then, of course, before they do their thing, he got his mojo from, he got Austin Powers' mojo from him, and he drinks it. He freaking drinks it. But then, of course, he looks at the camera. He has that confidence, that passion, that it just, you could feel it, right? And the lights kind of dim, and the camera goes blurry around him and focus on him. It's like suddenly he's the man with the charisma that Austin Powers had, right? And I, to this day, have no idea why he said this, but he drinks something. I'm forgetting so much. It's been so long since I watched the movies, but he drinks something. He's like, "One for me and one for my homies." I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Maybe that's a reference to something. I don't know. But, yeah. Oh, yeah. In Goldmember, the beginning, he's... "Preparations A through G were complete failures, so allow me to introduce my next plan, Preparation H." And of course, Scott is laughing in his face again. "On the whole, I think Preparation H does feel good." And Scott agrees. Anyway. Oh yeah, this one's a classic. One of his first disputes with Scott in the first film, Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. Scott is trying to make a point because back to when he was like, "I'm going to melt every city in a planet with liquid hot magma." Scott is protesting because Dr. Evil put Austin and Vanessa into a little trap where they're slowly lowering them into a pit of sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their heads. But they weren't actually sharks because when they were frozen, or when he was frozen rather, they were put on the endangered species list so they couldn't get them. So instead, they got mutated sea bass. But again, Scott was protesting this idea because they could get away. Because Scott knows how this works. He's seen the James Bond films. And so he's like, "Why don't you shoot him now and get it done?" Bang, dead, done. And he's like, "One more peep out of you and you are grounded, mister, and I am not joking." Meanwhile, Scott is like 30 years old. So Scott continues to try to protest, right? And Dr. Evil keeps going, "Shh." Every time he utters something, he's like, "Whoosh, whoosh, 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 knock, knock, who's there? Shh. Look, shh. Let me tell you a story about a man named Shh. Even before you start, there was a printer, shh. Just to let you know, I have a whole bag of shh with your name on it." But yeah, that is all for tonight's video. Let me know if you want to hear more Austin Powers one-liners in another video, Or let me know in the comments what you'd like to hear in the next one-liners video. And I will do my best. If I don't do it, then maybe I'll learn how to do it. Who knows? And also, if you go to my Twitch streams, you can use channel points to redeem voice impressions that way on the spot. But having said that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate all your likes. I appreciate all your comments, unless you're a douchebag. Well, even so, it's good for engagement. So yeah, leave a like or a thumbs down if you really feel like doing it. It's still good for the algorithm. And click subscribe if you haven't already, because I make shorts every day and make new full-length videos every week. And having said all that, thank you so much once again for watching. And as always, stay chill.